What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Young Brother of Soul podcast show. And guess what? It is me, your guy, the Young Brother of Soul. First and foremost, like I said before, I want to thank everybody that has been supporting me throughout this podcast channel. And not only that, I didn't forget about the ones, well, I shouldn't say the ones, my family and friends that still want to be interviewed during the Young Brother of Soul podcast show. Trust and believe, the Young Brother of Soul did not forget about y'all. We're just going to have to come up with a good timing and a good scheduling. That's all. Yes. And not only that, what I want to say is that the Super Bowl is next week. And believe it or not, the Super Bowl actually came quick. These 2 weeks waiting on the Super Bowl actually come quicker than what you think it is. And not only that, well, my hometown team's not in the Super Bowl this year. So, well, we won last year, so that's all that mattered. But, yeah, we're not in it. So, yeah. Well, let me just leave it at that. Speaking of Super Bowl, on today's episode on the Young Brother of Soul podcast show is, what I want to talk about is, I want to talk about top quarterbacks. Great, best, good. Well, y'all get what I'm saying. Top quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. Now, believe it or not, there are quite a few there are quite a few quarterbacks that have appeared in a Super Bowl or more, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and lost them. And there are quite a few quarterbacks that appeared in multiple conference championship games. Yeah. And there are quite a few quarterbacks that have never played in a Super Bowl. And believe it or not, you'd be surprised that some of these quarterbacks never played in a Super Bowl. Yeah. Starting off with the list that a great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl is, the great Ken Anderson. Now, Ken Anderson is definitely a phenomenal quarterback. He was very underrated during his time. And not only that, he spent 16 seasons all with the Cincinnati Bengals. And not only that he spent all 16 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, he was the second quarterback under Blair Walsh, when Blair Walsh was the offensive coordinator for the Bengals, to do the West Coast offense. And he was phenomenal. And not only that, Ken Anderson actually played in the Super Bowl. He played in Super Bowl 16 against Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers. And yeah, they did lose that Super Bowl to the 49ers. I mean, the Bengals, they couldn't even find their way in the end zone. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah, that it happens. Well, believe it or not, Ken Anderson actually took the Bengals back to the playoffs the next year, which they lost. And I believe it was about 5 or 6, 7 years, straight years, that he didn't even make it back to the playoffs. Meaning, he didn't even get a chance to make it back to the Super Bowl. Now, do you think if he would have never had those losing records after he lost that Super Bowl, would he appear in another Super Bowl? Probably. Would he win it all? We don't know about that. Well, a couple years after Ken Anderson retired, the Bengals would reappear in the Super Bowl again, which they lost again to the Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, Boomer Esiason was a good quarterback, but he didn't win a Super Bowl either. So, yeah. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl, the great Michael Vick. Now, Michael Vick definitely was a phenomenal quarterback. And not only that he was a phenomenal quarterback, he is at least one of the top 3 mobile quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. I mean, he took it to another level. And not only that, when he was with the Atlanta Falcons, he was phenomenal. He would actually make one NFC Championship appearance, which he lost, but he had, he was just electrifying. And he rushed over at least 7.3 yards a game for a mobile quarterback. That is very unheard of. Well, in the year 2007, Michael Vick would go through a very controversial moment during his NFL career, which he would have to serve 2 years in prison. Well, we all know what happened. We all know what didn't happen. He knew what happened. He knew what didn't happen. That is until the year 2009 that he would sign with my hometown team, the Philadelphia Eagles, because he was given a second chance in the NFL. I mean, he did his time. Give him a break. Well, that is until the year 2010 when he became a full-time starter. And not only that, he would win Comeback Player of the Year. And he took the Eagles to the playoffs that year, but they lost. So he definitely is one of the great quarterbacks to never appear in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And believe it or not, that was the last year he was in the playoffs with the Eagles. So, yeah. I believe that was the last time that he ever made it to the playoffs as a starter. So, like I said, Mike Vick, phenomenal. But when he played with the Eagles, he actually learned how to play in the pocket. I mean, when he was in Atlanta, he had a heck of an arm, but he was more of a pocket quarterback when he was with Philadelphia. So I give him that credit. Yeah. Another great quarterback to never win the Super Bowl is Steve McNair. Now, Steve McNair definitely was a great quarterback. He started off with the Houston Oilers, then they moved to Tennessee, became the Tennessee Oilers. Then they changed their name to the Tennessee Titans. Now, believe it or not, he actually did make a Super Bowl appearance. That is in Super Bowl 34, which he faced against the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. Well, they actually did lose that Super Bowl to the Rams. And not only that, he threw the ball to Kevin Dyson, which he was 1 yard short. 1 yard short from tying Super Bowl 34. Now, can you imagine if he wasn't 1 yard short? That probably would have been the first Super Bowl to ever go to an overtime. Well, that was the last time that Steve McNair ever played in the Super Bowl. And not only that, I believe he took the Titans back to the AFC Championship. I believe was it 2002, if I'm mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment. Well, yeah, that was the last time he ever played in the Super Bowl. And believe it or not, in 2006, he actually signed with the Baltimore Ravens. He took them to a 13-3 record. Well, they would eventually lose to the Super Bowl champions that year, the Indianapolis Colts, in the divisional round. The next year, he would retire, and he definitely would not play in another Super Bowl. Rest in peace to Steve McNair. He was a great, phenomenal quarterback. I just wish he would have had another chance to play in the Super Bowl, but it didn't happen. So, yeah. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl is Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts was a phenomenal quarterback for the San Diego Chargers. And not only that he was a phenomenal quarterback, he is the only quarterback to throw over 4,000 yards, I believe, in 5 years in a row. That is unheard of in the NFL. Well, believe it or not, he actually took the Chargers to back-to-back AFC championships appearance in 1980 and 1981. Well, he did lose both AFC championship games. And not only that, he is another great quarterback to never appear in the Super Bowl. Now, do you think if the Chargers would have fixed their defense, because they had a heck of an offense with Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow, if they would have fixed their defense, they probably would have played in the Super Bowl, and it probably would have been a different story. And not only that Dan Fouts is a phenomenal quarterback, he is also a phenomenal broadcaster commentating on CBS. Shout out to Dan Fouts. He's also in the Hall of Fame too, so I'll give him that. Yeah. Another great quarterback to never win the Super Bowl, Randall Cunningham. Now, Randall Cunningham was, as I should say, one of the greatest mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, he took it to another level before Michael Vick did. And not only that, he had a heck of an arm. He could throw the ball for at least 100 yards for a touchdown pass. That's how good his arm was. He also was a good punter. Well, believe it or not, in his career, Randall Cunningham only actually won 2 playoff games. Yeah, 2 playoff games. And not only that, he was part of that Eagles defense. Well, his teammates. That Eagles defense that they had back then, which is why I'm surprised they didn't win the Super Bowl, because they had Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons, Seth Joyner, Eric Allen. Well, it didn't happen. And like I said, Randall only won 2 playoff games in his career. He actually won 1 with the Eagles, and then he actually won 1 with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, that Randall Cunningham that played with the Minnesota Vikings wasn't the same one that played in Philadelphia. He actually played in the pocket, and he had wide receivers like Chris Carter and Randy Moss. He would make it to the 1998 NFC Championship with the Minnesota Vikings, but they lost to the Atlanta Falcons at home in an overtime game, which a lot of people still trying to figure out what happened during that game. I mean, the Vikings were 15-1. That was their best team besides 1969. And believe it or not, Randall Cunningham is actually one of the greatest quarterbacks to never appear in the Super Bowl. Now, with the defense that he had, like I said, with the Eagles, and if he would have won more playoff games with the Eagles or even with the Vikings, he definitely would have been the Super Bowl champion. Well, it didn't happen. But shout out to the great Randall Cunningham, who was a phenomenal quarterback. And like I said, he was Randall Cunningham before Michael Vick was. He took it to another level. Yeah. Randall Cunningham. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl is Warren Moon. Now, believe it or not, Warren Moon wasn't drafted in the NFL. He actually played in the Canadian League, and he won 5 Grey Cups. 5. Well, in 1984, he would join the NFL, and he would play with the Houston Oilers. Now, believe it or not, Warren Moon was a phenomenal quarterback. I mean, the way how he threw the ball, it was always a perfect spiral. I mean, just perfect spiral. Well, he would play for 4 NFL teams, and believe it or not, none of those teams that he played for did not win the Super Bowl. And not only that, he is definitely one of the greatest quarterbacks to never appear in a Super Bowl. I mean, man, he only had 1 losing season, believe it or not. 1 losing season. No, I'm playing. He didn't have 1 losing season. But Warren Moon definitely deserved a Super Bowl ring, but it just didn't happen. And he's in the Hall of Fame. So give credit to Warren Moon, believe it or not. Yeah. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl is my man's Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers definitely is one of the greatest quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. He didn't even appear in the Super Bowl. He's another one that didn't appear in the Super Bowl. He came close in 2007, which he played in the AFC Championship with a torn ACL. And believe it or not, he would face against the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship. Well, that was the Patriots' undefeated season, and they eventually lose to the Patriots in the AFC Championship. I mean, he became a full-time starter from 2006 on to 2020. And he only had 1 losing season, which was 2012. But every time you turn around, Phillip Rivers was always in the playoffs. I mean, he played with LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates. I mean, that offense was phenomenal. Well, like I said, he only played in 1 conference championship, but he didn't appear in a Super Bowl. Yeah. He's actually definitely another legendary quarterback for the San Diego Chargers. Then they became the LA Chargers again. Well, we're just going to leave it at that. And he was a quarterback that always talked trash in a fun way, but he also backed it up. So shout out to Phillip Rivers. He actually came back a few years after retiring to play with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, he didn't do that well. He didn't do that bad, but yeah, Phillip said after this, I'm done. I'm done. He's over 40 years old. He ain't trying to get hit. I mean, who wants to get hit that hard in your 40s? You can get hit and not get back up. Yeah. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl. Fran Tarkenton. Now, Fran Tarkenton was definitely, how can I say, a great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl. And not only that he never won a Super Bowl, he was the first quarterback to ever start the scrambling. That means a quarterback running out the pocket. He did that before Randall Cunningham and Michael Vick. And not only that, Fran Tarkenton actually appeared in 3 Super Bowls with the Minnesota Vikings. Well, those 3 Super Bowls that he appeared in, they lost all 3 of them. They lost all 3 of them. They lost to the Dolphins. Then they lost to the Steelers. And then they lost to the Raiders. I mean, he was a quarterback that can still throw the ball, but run out the pocket and make plays. Well, like I said, he played with the purple people eating. And that good defense that he had, well, apparently the Vikings did well in the regular season, but when it comes to the Super Bowl, they didn't bother to show up. So, I mean, he did get traded to the New York Giants and then traded back. Well, he started with the Vikings. Then he got traded to the Giants. And then he got traded back to the Vikings. So if you think that if Fran Tarkenton would have never got traded back to the Vikings, do you think that he probably would have won a Super Bowl? Maybe, but he played with the Vikings. So, yeah, 3 Super Bowl appearances. Oh, man. I believe they had, at least 2 or 3 NFC Championship appearances? Oh, man. Yeah, Fran Tarkenton. 0-3 in the Super Bowl. That is a hurtful feeling right there, being 0-3. Oh, man. Yeah. At least he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl, Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was a great quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And not only that he was a great quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, he is the only quarterback to take his team to 4 consecutive Super Bowls, and they lost all 4 of them. I mean, the wide right will always and forever be on Buffalo's tombstone. Then the next year they lost to Washington. Their star running back loses his helmet. How do you lose your helmet? You just should have kept it with you, man. And then the next 2 they got blown out by Dallas. I mean, it's like they just didn't bother to show up. I mean, Jim Kelly definitely was, like I said, a phenomenal quarterback. And not only that he was a phenomenal quarterback, he actually set records, passing yards, passing touchdowns for the Buffalo Bills. But he had 4 chances to win the Super Bowl. Like I said, he went to 4 straight Super Bowls. I mean, poor Bills fans, poor Vikings fans, poor Bills fans. Yeah, I'm going to keep on saying it because, oh boy. I believe if they would have never missed that field goal kick against the Giants in Super Bowl 25, they definitely would have had nothing to worry about. I think that definitely would have been a good big relief off of them that they finally won, or they would have won. I believe if they would have ran one more play before kicking the field goal, they would have won. But that kicker missed the field goal, and they lost 3 more straight Super Bowls. And But Jim Kelly definitely is a good quarterback because he's in the Hall of Fame. So I give him that. Yeah. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl, the great Dan Marino. Dan Marino definitely is and was a phenomenal quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. And not only that he was a phenomenal quarterback, his second season, he took the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. And not only that, he set the quarterback passing touchdown record at the time, which was 48. Then, of course, Tom Brady broke it in number 50, and then Peyton Manning broke it at 55. But he was the first to break that record. Well, to have the record. Set the record, as to say. Well, he made it to Super Bowl 19. And you know who he played against? Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, the 49ers, they outplayed the Dolphins. Joe Montana did his thing. I mean, Dan Marino couldn't really do nothing with the 49ers. I mean, the defense that the 49ers had, they didn't even have a chance. So, oh, man. And believe it or not, I think Dan Marino actually made it to at least 2 or maybe 3 AFC Championship appearances. And, yeah, he lost all 3. And not only that, Super Bowl 19 was his only only Super Bowl appearance. And, yeah, that was the last time he ever played in the Super Bowl. I believe if he would have had another chance to play in another Super Bowl, would he win? Yeah, he would have won. He's definitely a great quarterback to never win the Super Bowl. Dan Marino. Dan Marino. Dan Marino. Dan Marino. He deserved it, but he's in the Hall of Fame. So I give him that. He's in the Hall of Fame. And trust and believe, you do not have to be, well, as I should say, you really don't have to win the Super Bowl to be in the Hall of Fame. There are a lot of great NFL players that have never won a Super Bowl that are in the Hall of Fame. So that's another championship to me. Yeah. Another great quarterback to win the Super Bowl. To never win the Super Bowl is Donovan McNabb. Now, I don't care what nobody says. Donovan was a good quarterback. And not only that, he's the greatest quarterback in Eagles history. I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan. Well, I grew up with Donovan, watching Donovan. Now, the only thing is, yeah, he had some good moments, and yeah, he had some bad moments. And yeah, throughout his career, he had some injuries, but look what he did for us. He took us to 5 NFC championships, 1 Super Bowl appearance, which he lost, but you know, he set Eagles records, you know, with passing touchdowns, passing yards. But like I said, is he the greatest quarterback in Eagles history? Yes, but he will always be remembered to never win the big one. And you know, losing Super Bowl 39 it still bothers him, which it would bother me too. That was your only chance to win the Super Bowl, but they came up short, and that was the last time that Donovan ever appeared in a Super Bowl. I mean, he's been to 3 straight NFC championships, and those 3 NFC championships that he lost turned the ball over quite a few times. But on the other hand, like I said, I appreciate everything that Donovan has did for us. I don't care what nobody says. He was a great quarterback. Greatest quarterback in Eagles history. Yeah. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl is Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan definitely was a good quarterback. Not only that he was a good quarterback, he won Rookie of the Year, and the year that the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, he won MVP. Well, he only appeared in 1 Super Bowl, and not only that, the team that he played for, of course, like I said, is the Atlanta Falcons, and Super Bowl 51, they will always and forever be remembered as a team that had a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl and let the team come back. You know, a lot of people still, until this day, are still talking about the fact that the Falcons had a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, and the Patriots came back and won that game. And not only that, that was the first Super Bowl to ever go to overtime. And a lot of people were like, "Oh my God!" And to be honest with you, like I said before, Atlanta has not been the same since they lost that Super Bowl. But Matt Ryan definitely belongs on this list because he took the team to the Super Bowl and he won MVP that year. And he was a phenomenal quarterback. And was it his fault that they lost the Super Bowl? No, it wasn't his fault. Definitely was not his fault that they lost that Super Bowl. I mean, there should have been no reason why they stopped scoring. I mean, come on, man. You're playing against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. If you're going to have a big lead against Tom Brady, you got to keep scoring. You cannot stop scoring. You got to keep going and going and going and going and going and going. Oh, boy. Poor Falcons fans. Poor Falcons fans. Oh, boy. Yeah. Poor Falcons fans. Another great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl is Cam Newton. Now, Cam Newton definitely was a great quarterback, especially for the Carolina Panthers. And believe it or not, he took the Panthers to Super Bowl 50. And that year, the Panthers went 15-1. And not only that, he won MVP that year, and he also won offensive rookie of the year when he got drafted. Not only that, if you think about it, he is the only quarterback from 2011 draft class that still played for a very long time, and that was good. Him and Andy Dalton, everybody else sucked. So, yeah, well, I shouldn't say that. Some of them were just draft busts, that's all, I'm just leave it at that. Well, Cam Newton definitely belong on this list because he set some great records, especially because he was a mobile quarterback, and he set some good records for the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, he took them to the Super Bowl. Well, they did lose the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos, who had a phenomenal defense that year. And not only that, that was the first and last time that Cam Newton had ever appeared in a Super Bowl. Do you think that put it this way. Do you think he deserved to play in the Super Bowl again? Yeah. Do you think he would have won it this time? Probably. But, yeah, that was the first and last time that the Cam Newton played in the Super Bowl. And not only that, he only had 2 fumbles in the Super Bowl, but he had a heck of a year that year. Like I said, he won MVP. So, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are your top quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. Like I said, some of them appeared in the Super Bowl and lost multiple. Some of them only appeared in conference championships. And some of them have never played in a Super Bowl. Which is definitely a hurtful feeling. But things happen for a reason. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But, yeah. Good quarterbacks that I can also think of that didn't win a Super Bowl. Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon actually was a good quarterback. And not only that, he took the Oakland Raiders to Super Bowl 37. He actually won MVP that year. They got blown out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, yeah, Rich Gannon definitely was a good quarterback. Honorable mention, as I should say. Honorable mention. Jeff Garcia, good quarterback. Never won a Super Bowl. Yeah. It'd be like that sometimes. Great quarterbacks. Setting records. Well, breaking records too. Never winning the Super Bowl. Matt Hasselbeck definitely was a good quarterback. He took the Seattle Seahawks to Super Bowl 40, which they lost, but he was a heck of a quarterback. Matt Hasselbeck was good. I like Matt Hasselbeck. I think he was a good quarterback. But Yeah. Honorable mentions, as I said. But, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, these are your top quarterbacks, like I said, that never won a Super Bowl. And before we end off this video, I want everybody to do me a favor. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that notification button. And make sure y'all tune in for more episodes of the Young Brother Soul Podcast Show. Thank you. Have a good one. Be safe. And like I said, tune in for some new episodes of the Young Brother Soul Podcast Show. Thank you.